If you just got your car and you're thinking about ceramic coating, you're probably wondering why. We're answering all the common questions that you may have about ceramic coating. What is ceramic coating? Ceramic coating is a liquid like this that you apply on top of the car paint, and it chemically bonds so that it hardens and creates a layer of protection. So let me break it down real quick for you. So on any other car, there's usually the bare metal. Okay, so this is metal, and after the substrate, we use something called primer. Okay, in painting, and then you have the base coat. That's the paint. That's the thing. So if you have an ultra red Tesla, this is where that'll happen. And then you do something called clear coat. And that's what we're typically bonding with. If you hit like a rock, it chips right away because paint, clear coat, and primer, all of that is not that thick. I mean, you're really talking about just a tiny little layer. So ceramic coating literally goes on top, and it bonds with that clear coat and creates that barrier and level of protection. So speaking of protection, what does it actually protect against? Because of the hydrophobic property that it has, it's a lot easier to clean, which means that it has less time or less chance of it etching. On top of that, you get UV protection because UV rays are bad for clear coat and the paint itself. Because of that barrier, right, you're making your car last longer, and it has an ultra glossy shine. So you know that wet look that you see sometimes, like you look to your left and you see this car that just looks immaculate. It's probably ceramic coated. It gives that look all the time. So that all sounds good, but can it be scratch? Yeah, it could be a scratch. So before we get into why you shouldn't get ceramic coating, click on the subscribe button. We're trying to help Tesla owners and other vehicle owners get the best and keep their vehicles awesome and maintain it. Sometimes a customer will call me and say, hey, I want ceramic coating. I just don't want to wash my car forever. If you really take time to wash your car, it takes a lot longer if it's not ceramic coated. But that doesn't mean that you leave it untouched for years and years, right? So it does make it easier, but if you leave, like, let's say a bird poop for like months, it will eventually etch into the paint. So you still need to take care of it. Also, if you're thinking about doing a lot of highway driving, ceramic coating, although it does provide that hardness and the hydrophobic properties, it is not going to protect from rock chips. And that's where paint protection film comes in. PPF is 8 to 12 mils thick. That's like double the thickness of paint. It's a very, very self-healing property. It's a stretchable, very pliable, strong, rubber-like, clear film. So that's what you want if you actually want to protect from highway driving and those things, rocks, muds, anything that's blunt, right? As far as protection for, let's say like the etching, the water spots, like all that stuff, ceramic coating is a great way to protect and keep your vehicle really nice and clean. These are supposed to last between 1 to really 5 years. And if it's well maintained, it'll do very well in that year 5. So we really recommend for like even PPF to ceramic coating because it'll make it a lot easier to clean and it lasts a good long bit. And that also depends on how well you take care of it. Like I said in the previous section, I mean, if you just like leave your car untouched for years and years, it's gonna break down, right? The elements are gonna break it down and that coating will start to dissipate. So what we typically recommend is doing a 2-bucket wash. And what that means is you have 2 buckets, one for rinse and one for wash. And rinse has a grit guard underneath so you catch all of that dirt and you keep it so that you're not grabbing any of that dirt or contaminants and then gliding across your ceramic coated car. We use something that's biodegradable, like we use our car wash shampoo, and it does a good job of unclogging and really getting those properties back out for the ceramic coating. We typically recommend washing every few weeks. Depends on where you are. If you're in a muddy road, you probably need to wash a little bit more often than others, right? Let's say you just have like a bird poop or something like that. I typically use like a waterless wash or a quick detailer and get those out. Sooner the better, because once that dries, it gets harder and harder. But again, that barrier that ceramic coating provides will make it easier for it to remove. A lot of the time shops will provide warranty, right? They'll provide like either a year, 5 year, whatever. But most shops will provide that check-in, right? And they'll kind of unclog those ceramic coating and just make sure that it's still performing really well. So let me break it down as far as like how shops will do ceramic coating on vehicles. All the work, I would say like 80% or even 90% of the work that goes into applying a ceramic coating is all going to happen in the prep stages. Even though it is a brand new car, it doesn't mean that it'll be flawless. You want to do a full decontamination wash. Then you want to do something what we call paint correction. And you level all that out and you get rid of all of those scratches. Once it's in pristine condition, once it's fully dry, you don't want any moisture really with the ceramic coating, then you finally get to the process where you can apply it. That's where pricing gets kind of tricky and expensive, right? And I want to kind of explain to you from a shop standpoint why and how they kind of price it. Typically these bottles, if you buy retail, they're about $80 to $150 per bottle. You're going to use a good bit of microfiber, right? So each of those, let's say it's about $15 for a pack of microfibers. Other small things like your soap, your clay bar, all of that won't amount to maybe $20 or something like that, right? Let's say your all-in-all cost is $150 to $200. And then of course you're going to have all the labor. But you know, if you talk to any ceramic coating shop, their prices are going to start probably around $1,000 all the way to like $2,000. One of the reasons is it just depends on where you are. Living wage is needs to be a certain level. Everybody's got to eat, right? That's kind of why I think prices fluctuate all over the US. And they'll typically price based on how much work they think they have to do. I've seen, I think, a lot of shops kind of go into that route where they are trying to figure out more of a templated way of pricing. And I think that helps consumers. But if they're doing the thing where they have to look at your car, that's why. They're trying to really figure out is how much am I going to spend time on this car before I even get to, you know, coating it. This industry has been rapidly growing and getting better and better, in my opinion. And in the beginning stages, I felt like it was really for a professional standpoint. Like some ceramic coating, like you apply it and it starts beading and sweating. That's what we call it. It kind of gets in this like it literally looks like it's sweating. And then after that, like you got to get it real fast and you got to level it. And then after that, you have to buff it. And if you leave an area and it's like you forgot to wipe that down properly, you'll get something called high point. And in some cases, they just look like a permanent blemish. Like it looks awful. You have to polish it out. Typically because it has an insane hardness, it's also very difficult to polish it out. But typically we recommend this one just because it's just far easier to apply and you have that really long window until you can wipe down without getting high spots. So this is kind of why I do think now that you can definitely do yourself a bowl. When people ask me that question, I'm always like, okay, what's the goal of this? The question is, you know, if you do a lot of highway driving and you really do want to keep your car in pristine condition from rocks, debris, and blunt forces, then definitely PPF. Like if you had one option, I would definitely do the PPF, right? But if your goal is, you know, you really want to just enjoy this vehicle, you love washing your car, but it takes you a long time and you want to continue to have that nice, really wet look and that clean look for a longer period of time and make it easier for you, then definitely ceramic coating. But the other option is to do both, right? And the reason why I recommend that is if you go to a shop, typically they will do an upsell, right? So it just makes sense for them because they're doing all the work typically to like polish the car, do all the work, the prep in order to get your car ready or Tesla ready for paint protection film. So once they apply the paint protection film around the car, then they can just grab a bottle of a ceramic coating and just apply it. So labor gets significantly cut down, right? So you're almost double dipping. If you were planning to do both, this is a very important info that you need to know. You cannot put ceramic coating and then put PPF. Because of that hydrophobic properties, if you put PPF on top of a ceramic coated car, I've seen where it just slips out. I mean, it doesn't even stick. Think about what you really want. You know, do I want protection from rock chips and I do a lot of highway driving and that's really what I want? Or do I want a really pleasant washing and I want to keep my car really nice and clean and I always have that wet look? Or do I want both? And can I afford both? You know, these are questions that you want to ask yourself and, you know, ask your shop. So that pretty much sums it up on ceramic coating. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. Please subscribe. We're coming out with a lot more content every single week. I should probably coat that car that's sitting right next to me. So let's get to it.